Commissioners, without objection, we can get started. We'll know if Will's going to be here. Jessica, if you can hear me, is Will supposed to join us?
Chair, I see on your chair sheet that he is scheduled to be absent today.
Oh, that's okay. Correct. See it. Yes, that's correct. He's scheduled out today.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. The time is 10:01, and I call the January 4th, 2024 Planning Board meeting to order. We have with us today our Vice Chair Bailey.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We have Commissioner Giraldo.
Good morning.
And we have Commissioner Washington.
Good morning. Happy New Year, all.
And I'm Chair Shapiro. Please note that the deadline for all participant pre-registration for all submission of materials and exhibits was 12 noon on the Tuesday before this planning board meeting. Registered speakers may join the meeting with a link provided in the email that is provided by the planning board office, or may listen by phone by utilizing the call-in number provided in the mail. Of course, anyone may tune in to watch the planning board meeting via live stream, and if you wish to speak or become a person of record, you may use our online web form, which you'll see referenced on the screen. In addition to the commissioners, we are joined by David Warner, our principal counsel, Jessica Jones, planning board administrator, Rhonda Ford, our technical hearing writer, James Hunt, Division Chief of the Development Review Division, and staff members Kenneth Flanagan and Ryan Crown, who always guide us ably with technology behind the scenes. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to recognize a loss that we've had in our community. Somebody who's we all have known quite well in a bunch of different roles. The Honorable Doug Peters passed just a few days ago. Former state senator, he was elected and served 4 times in the Maryland State Senate beginning in 2005. He also served, this includes the Bowie area primarily. He also served on the Prince George's County Council from 2002 to 2006. I had the honor of serving with him for a few years. So it is a big, big loss for the county. And if I could ask us to take a moment of silence. Thank you all. And we will certainly, our thoughts and our prayers are with his family and the community that has loved him and respected him so much for so many years. So, Commissioners, we're going to follow the order of cases as listed on the agenda, and we'll start with item 2. I look for a motion to approve the draft minutes of December 14, 2023.
Motion to approve draft minutes.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Bailey, a second by Commissioner Washington. Discussion. No discussion. I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Next item on our agenda is item 3C. This will be a presentation by the Planning Department, the Development Review Division, discussing the Neighborhood Planning Academy. I had the opportunity myself to participate in the graduation ceremony. It is a wonderful project. And we're going to turn it over to Mr. Hunt. He'll introduce the team, and we'll take some time to get an overview of the program. I even think they have a PowerPoint for us.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm James Hunt with the Development Review Division. Just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce our team associated with the Neighborhood Planning Academy. As you all know, this program has been well in the making for many, many, many years. We've worked with the development community, worked with a lot of the county execs team, associated also with the county council members as well, to get this up and moving. This is one thing that all the citizens of Prince George's County have really been begging for. And so we have been working diligently over the past few years to make sure, develop a program for our citizens, not only the citizens, but folks within, the on the county council's team, to provide them information on the development process, the county execs team, anyone that really within Prince George's County wants to know more information about the development, about planning in Prince George's County. That's what this program is about. And so for our team, we worked together to develop a student workbook, as you see on the screen here, along with a robust program to explain the various associated processes and what planning is about here in Prince George's County. Also, it promotes how really for all the folks to get involved in the development process. So that said, I wanted to kind of turn this over to Marion Honnessy, and I will briefly also take a moment to introduce her to the planning board, because this is her first time before the board. Marion Honnessy, she joins the countywide planning division from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Forest Service Division. She worked there for many, many years. And so we are so grateful to have her join our team to help us out with many various programs here not only within countywide planning, but she helps out over development review, community planning, all around. So she's well-rounded in all the aspects. She joined along with Linda Ramirez-Bluss to lead this team, and they're going to go into a little bit more detail on who's on the team and what took place throughout this program. But what I will ask is that for you planning board members, as you're going out to the community, as you're meeting those various citizens and everyone else, to really continue to promote this program. You'll see as Marion goes through her presentation, we had a great turnout, great amount of applications for this program. And so for everyone to get involved, to really promote this program throughout Prince George's County is going to be excellent. This program, I will say, and I'll throw our hats out there, we did a great job. Our team did a phenomenal job with this. We have nothing but compliments from the county exec's office, from the council member's office, from everywhere. The citizens are really, really excited about it. So that said, I'll get off my soapbox here, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Honnessy, who can go into more detail. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chair and members of the board, my name is Marion Honnessy, and I'd like to recognize the members of the Neighborhood Planning Academy work group up front. Before I go into further detail, the members included James Hunt, Carly Brockington, Elena Perry, Sarah Benton, Callista Black, Linda Ramirez-Bluss, and Joshua Mitchum. Together we worked to develop this Neighborhood Planning Academy and the pilot program that just happened. So now I'd like to provide you an overview of the newly launched Neighborhood Planning Academy. The Academy was designed to give Prince George's County citizens an understanding of the decision-making process involved in planning and how they can better participate in that process so they can better advocate for their community's goals and visions. Next slide. The development of the Academy started in December 2020 with the forming of an exploratory team. During the late summer and spring of 2021, we conducted many surveys and interviews, as well as research to help us in the design of our Academy. This included looking at other programs from across the country, as well as listening to the concerns raised by the citizens of Prince George's County. Later, from the fall of 2022 to the spring of 2023, we designed all of the documents associated with the program and had many discussions utilizing some of the best practices used by other jurisdictions. During the spring and summer of 2023, we tested the curriculum, held many dry run sessions, and made necessary adjustments prior to our kickoff this past October. Fast forward to the summer of 2023, and county residents are applying to participate in the inaugural Academy. Next slide. We developed a robust advertising initiative with opportunities to increase advertising as needed. Fortunately, the program gained so much interest and momentum, we had over 300 applications to the program. All residents of the county, including those in municipalities, had been encouraged to apply. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, keep that slide, go back. Whoop. Of the 300 applications, 30 were selected. As a part of the selection process for all of the applications received, we sorted the applications into the 9 councilmanic districts and randomly selected 3 per district. For the remaining 3 seats, we randomly selected 1 elected government official and 2 county business owners that were not county residents but had businesses in the county. Upon reviewing the applications for those selected, we noted that we had a diverse group of applicants with 77% female, ranging in age from 18 to 60 years and older, with 30% between 40 and 49 years of age, and 23 were 60 years or older, and 43% held a graduate degree. Next slide. The Academy met for, let's see, next slide. Okay, the Academy met for 6 sessions on Wednesdays from October 4th through November 8th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The first 5 sessions were virtual and session 6 was in person. Each session had interactive activities and presentations by commission staff, each a technical expert on the topic. As you can see, the sessions provided the basics to understanding the development process in Prince George's County. These range from the county's history to transportation planning, including PG Atlas and dams. We will continue to look for ways to improve the program. As part of this continuous improvement, we have collected feedback from the participants of the many points of feedback received. We are greatly interested in expanding the speakers and sessions to include other agencies included in the process. For example, DPI, SHA, DPW&T, Public Transportation. We will explore these opportunities in future neighborhood academies. Next slide. During session 6, each participant gave a final presentation on a topic of their choosing, one that had special meaning for them. Here are the presentation topics and grouped per their connection to Plan 2035. The session and the Academy ended with each receiving a certificate of completion. Next slide. I thought I would conclude with a group photo taken at the graduation. Next slide. But this slide captured their excitement so much better. Next slide. And here is our contact information. Please, if you have any questions, please contact me and Linda, and please give this out to your constituents if they have any interest in participating in the Neighborhood Planning Academy. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners, about this program and perhaps what we can do to help it along too?
Yeah, it sounds so exciting, and thank you for the overview. Can you talk a little bit more about why it was limited to just 30 participants? Is there some specific rationale behind that, or is that the plan going forward, or?
This was the pilot to see how it would all work, and doing it virtually, whether we could handle the 30 on the platforms. We also weren't sure how many people would apply. So we thought 30 was a good number to start with. We are upping the number to 40 because we felt 40 was a better number to see how that worked for the newest academy, which is going to be starting this spring in April.
Okay, and then the application process, why is there an application process? I mean, are there criteria to participate, or?
For the application, we want to make sure they're county residents, for one. We had a number of people who applied that don't live even in the state.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yes, so that was part of it. We also wanted to make sure we didn't the people weren't all from one area of the county, that it was dispersed across the entire county, which is why we went with calcimic districts. We wanted it to be fair. We had over 200 people apply basically from the east side of the county. So that really wouldn't have been fair to the other areas of the county.
Okay, that's great. And if I missed it, how does one make application? I don't think I should say.
We have, there is a web page, and a funny thing is it actually was in the, or is in the Your Guide, the recreation list that went out. It's in there. We're going to be promoting the link again. but we do have a web page that has the link to the registration form. We also need their contact info so we can get in touch with people to give them the link for the meetings, the virtual meetings. So that's why we need a form versus it being open, because it's not going to be in person.
Right, I understand. And I'm just thinking, my questions are really through the filter of how we can help. Because I know some of these questions would come to us. So
Yes.
if maybe we could get this in a digital, because I have a hard copy of your presentation, but not a digital copy that includes the web page, then we can certainly send it out to our networks. I mean, I'm happy.
That
to
would
do
be
that.
perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it for me.
Yeah, if I can just join a bit with Commissioner Washington, one thought, which is if we had, in addition to the material, maybe even just a brief little elevator speech version of it, so we can, we'll be able to sort of speak intelligently and succinctly about what the program is. And also, in addition to us, if you haven't already done this, this will be a really useful tool to get out to the council members as well. Because there was a lot of interest from council members who were essentially wanting to promote certain people in the district to get in the academy. Often it was too late because we already had the class for it by the time they were paying attention to it. So maybe we can get ahead of it this time.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. Thank you very much for the presentation. It certainly was very informative. But having gone through this one first opportunity, is there anything that you would change for the next session?
The one thing we're looking into seeing if we can get other county agencies involved, because there were questions regarding parks, permitting, things that are the next step, like kind of the next step beyond the planning. And that were questions. We have separated out the PG Atlas. The 30 participants loved the PG Atlas and found it was the best thing they ever saw. The problem is they weren't aware, like they were shocked. We had to do sort of a pre-session meeting with some to show them all the bells and whistles because we didn't have time to go through it all. So now we're making it its own session so that the attendees can see everything that it can do, not just a 10-minute training session, which was, we sent them to a link to basically a 10-minute training session to help them with their big project. We're going to spend a whole hour and a half on it.
And if I may kind of add in here, one other thing that we'd like to do is to place some of this material and information on our website so it can be accessible to everyone at any point in time. It's an opportunity for folks, obviously, to participate in the program for one, but however, it's still valuable and very important for all of our citizens to be able to obtain this information at any point in time. So we're going to look at expanding this and placing it on the website in a very prominent location. You may be already aware that, the department's looking at updating the website anyway. This is one of the ways we're going to actually do so in updating. So.
Well done. Good. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very, very much. And I had the opportunity again to participate in the graduation. One of the things that happened there was I got to hear a few minutes from every participant about, well, everyone who was there, about what their project was. Some of these projects were fascinating. And so I actually have a copy of all of the projects. And I wonder, staff, if we could send that list to the commissioners. It's just fun and it was engaging. And I think you would like it as well, just to see the variety of projects that folks took on.
Great, great.
And it's a PowerPoint presentation. It's very accessible too. So thanks, team. Really, job well done. Looking forward to the next class and looking forward to, as you heard from my colleagues, how we can be helpful to spread the word as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone here who wishes to oppose staff's recommendations? on items 4A through 4H, or any board member wishes to discuss any of these items? If not, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, after consideration of the records of the items numbers 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D through 4H, I move adoption of staff findings and approval of the items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second.
A motion by Vice Chair Bailey, a second by Commissioner Washington. Discussion? I will call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey,
Aye.
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. We will now move on to our regular agenda items. We will start with, hold on one sec. Item 5 on our agenda, this is a detailed site plan DET 2022-017, Upper Marlboro Self-Storage. We have Mr. Gibbs, who will be representing the applicant. Dominic Lockhart will be giving the staff presentation. This is an evidentiary hearing. I will be swearing in folks who will be speaking, if there's anyone who's speaking, so I'll wait to see if that's needed when the time comes. I will turn over to Ms. Lockhart for the staff presentation.
Thank you. Doing a quick sound check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Dominique Lockhart with the zoning section. Item number 5 on the agenda is detailed site plan DET-2022-017 titled Upper Marlboro Self-Storage, which proposes the development of a 157,500 square foot consolidated storage facility. There is also an associated type 2 tree conservation plan and an alternative compliance request. As a matter of housekeeping, prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant provided an exhibit which included revised conditions. The exhibit was included in the additional backup. Staff is in full agreement with the changes proposed. In conclusion, based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommends that the Planning Board approve detailed site plan DET-2022-017, Type 2 Tree Conservation Plan TCP2-137-01-01, and Alternative Compliance ACL-2023-008, subject to the conditions noted in the staff report as revised by applicant's Exhibit 1. And this concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lockhart. Commissioners, questions for staff before we turn to the applicant? No questions. Mr. Gibbs?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Board. Happy New Year to everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning representing GP Upper Marlboro Limited Liability Company. The principal of that company is Generation Properties. So my clients, Mr. Rick Bailey, Mr. Eric Bailey, and Mr. George Stewart are also online here to answer any questions, as are Pastor Macklin and other representatives, officers of the Sanctuary at Kingdom Square. That, of course, is the church, which is located on Land Unit 1. This is a somewhat unique situation in that the property was the subject of an overall record plat known as Parcel C. And then in 2018, a land condominium was established, which created Land Unit 1, which is where the church is located, in Land Unit 2. My client is the church currently owns both land units. My client is the contract purchaser of Land Unit 2. And of course, you know, condominiums are a creature of statute created under the annotated code. While they don't create a subdivision of the property, they create certainly an interest in the land unit that is established by the condominium regime. So with that being said, you know, because of the unique nature of condominiums, we had a couple of conditions that we wanted to clear up with staff. I can't begin to say how much I appreciate Ms. Lockhart's cooperative attitude and the manner in which she approached this, as well as your counsel, David Warner. And it's always a pleasure to deal with them both. And so we thank them for working with us to clear up problems that were created relative to using a land condominium. And I don't mean problems, but just complexities. And so with that being said, we are happy to answer any questions, but we have nothing further that we need to add in that staff has agreed with the revisions that we are suggesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Pastor Macklin, good to see you. Anything you want to bring to us on this? If there's anything beyond a hello, I'll need to swear you in, but I won't swear you in for hello.
Good morning. Thank you. Hello. I hope that everything goes well.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? We have no one signed up to speak beyond members of the applicant's team. So pretty straightforward case. If there's no deliberation, I would close the hearing and I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DET-2022-017, alternative compliance ACL-2023-008, and TCP2-137-01-01, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report and is further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Bailey. I'm sorry, we got a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Vice Chair Bailey. Discussion on the motion. The only thing I would say under discussion is I want to associate myself with Mr. Gibbs' remarks related to the staff. We move quickly here, but that is not to deny all the capable work that goes on behind the scenes to provide us with a smooth process. So I just want to make sure that along with the applicant that we recognize all the good work that goes in. So maybe this is my New Year's resolution, just to make sure that we are clear and pleased with all the work that goes on. So Ms. Lockhart and the rest of the team, job well done. And if there's no further discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye and associate myself strongly with your comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Vice Chair Bailey.
I vote aye, and I also especially anything related with Pastor Macklin. Had to get that in.
Had to get it in. I'm with you. Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye, and I share in everyone's comments with regards to staff and to Pastor Macklin.
Thank you. I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Pastor Macklin, Mr. Gibbs, the rest of the team, thank you. Ms. Lockhart, thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Have a nice day and a nice weekend. Take care.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 6. This is preliminary plan of subdivision 4-22070 Kenwood Village. Mr. Haller is representing the applicant. Mr. Heath, we're giving the staff presentation. This also is a evidentiary hearing. So we may have folks signed up to speak. I see Chuck Renninger may be on. If he is speaking, we'll swear him in at that time. Mr. Renninger, are you going to be speaking?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let me swear you in now. Please raise your right hand, sir. Good to see you again, by the way. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, consider yourself sworn in. We will now turn to Mr. Haller. I'm sorry, we'll start with Mr. Heath for the staff presentation. Good to see you. Happy New Year, and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Okay.
You're very faint. No, can't hear you. Can't hear you. Take your time. Go. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Antoine, do you need like, would 5 minutes help? Yeah, thumbs
Mr. Chair,
up?
I was gonna say, if you like, you can go to the next item, the McKendree Road item, and then we'll come back.
Okay,
If you like,
let's
whatever
do
works
that.
for you.
David, since we're in the midst of a hearing and I've sworn in Mr. Renger, is there anything I need to do from a process perspective to switch items?
Yeah, you should just say you're going to continue the hearing to later in the meeting and then move on to the next item.
Okay, that is what we'll do. We'll continue this hearing and we'll move on to the next item and we'll come back to this one. So we'll now move on to item 7 on our agenda. This is PPS 2022-025 McKendree Road. We have Mr. Tedesco, who will be representing the applicant, and we have Mr. Eddie Diaz-Campbell, who will be giving the staff presentation. This too is an evidentiary hearing. I don't see anyone signed up beyond members of the applicant's team. We'll swear folks in if it is needed. And we will start with the staff presentation. Mr. Diaz-Campbell, good to see you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe,
Okay, good morning.
maybe Antoine to go hang out in your room afterwards.
We agreed to that, yes?
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I am Eddie Diaz-Campbell, Planner 3 with the Subdivision Section. Item number 7 on the agenda is the preliminary plan of subdivision for McKendree Road, PPS-2022-025. The subject project proposes 79 lots and 13 parcels for development of 79 single-family attached dwelling units. The application is subject to approved certificate of adequacy ADQ-2022-071. For this application, no citizens have signed up to speak, and no additional material was received for the record prior to the noon deadline on January 2nd, 2024. Staff recommend adoption of the findings of the technical staff report and approval of the preliminary plan of subdivision, Type 1 Tree Conservation Plan TCP1-019-2023, and variance from Section 25-122B1G for the removal of 2 specimen trees, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz-Campbell. Questions for staff? Seeing none, I will turn to the applicant, Mr. Tedesco. Good morning, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Planning Board Commissioners. For the record, Matthew Tedesco, the law firm of McNamee Hosey here on behalf of the applicant, Christopher Land, LLC. First and foremost, Happy New Year, and understanding I am maybe on some borrowed time right now, given the fact that Mr. Howler's case was before mine. I do want to be respectful to the board and to him regarding kind of taking this case out of turn, which I do appreciate. I do want to take a moment just very briefly to echo the sentiments of the prior case that you guys just heard from Mr. Gibbs. I just want to acknowledge Mr. Diaz-Campbell, Mr. Chuck Snyder, Sherry Connor, and members of their teams. You know, preparing for today's hearing in the midst of the holidays, you have a pretty heavy agenda today, but it goes without saying that there's a lot of work done on the front end, particularly with this case, that bring you a very clean, straightforward case with a very clean staff report. We do not have an exhibit with any recommended changes at this time, and that's a testament to the efforts that your staff, as well as the applicant team, undertook prior to the holidays to bring this case to you in a very clean manner. And I just want to publicly take a moment to thank Mr. Diaz-Campbell, Ms. Connor, and Chuck Schneider and all the staff members of the different divisions that were involved in the review of this application. I also just want to take a moment to introduce the applicant and their team, Mr. John Reagan, Joe Hennessy, and Brittany Havener. The consultants, Charles P. Johnson and Associates, Mr. Phil Hughes, Brian Hargis, and Jason Dunlop, as well as Mr. Mike Lenhart with Lenhart Traffic and Consulting. I'm very honored and pleased to be representing Christopher Land, who is a subsidiary of Christopher Companies. This is their first project in Prince George's County. Although it's their first one in Prince George's County, they are one of the largest independent home builders and developers in the DC metro area, with over 6,000 homes delivered in 3 states. We will have a future detailed site plan, hopefully later this year, for you all to review and hopefully approve for the development of this property. As Mr. Diaz-Campbell indicated, we are in full agreement with staff's recommendations. We would, for the record, further incorporate and adopt all the various justification statements that were prepared in this case, both for the preliminary plan, but also for the woodland conservation ordinance, as well as the environmental planning requirements and impacts that were associated there too. And all that's in your backup that we would submit on the record for. Finally, I just want to highlight that this property was purposefully rezoned to the prior RT zone as part of the Subregion 5 master plan to implement the land use recommendations of the master plan to the RT zone, now the RSFA zone, to contemplate medium to high residential density on the property. This project proposes 9.5 units to the acre, which fits on the lower end of the medium residential land use designation. So fully conforms with the master plan, the general plan. That's been a big topic over the last year with respect to following our planning and our planning guidelines and tools. This project absolutely does that. And as I mentioned, we very much look forward to bringing the detailed site plan to you all later this year. And with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have members of the team here. I don't anticipate that they need to be heard. We respectfully request your approval of this application. And once again, thanks staff for its review. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Appreciate it. Mr. Reagan, anything you want to say? If it's more than a hello, I'll swear you in. If it's a hello, that'll work. You saw Pastor Macklin represent. You have the same opportunity.
Well, no, thank you for, I have to, what Matt was saying, I thank the staff for getting all this done, and on my other side of my team, that all the work they got it done, and I look forward to doing more things in Prince George's County. I do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant from Mr. Tedesco or the team? Seeing none, we have no one else who's signed up, so I'll close the public hearing. If there's no deliberation, commissioners, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve PPS-2022-025, TCP1-019-2023, and variance to section 25-122B1G, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Vice Chair Bailey. Discussion. The only thing I would say in discussion, Mr. Reagan, for you is thank you for investing in our county, and we look forward to more quality projects. Thank you. Appreciate it. And any other discussion? If not, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Mr. Chair, I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Tedesco and team. Mr. Reagan, thank you. Mr. Diaz-Campbell, nice job. And we will now, we continued item 6, and we will now go back to item 6 on our agenda and look for a staff presentation, hopefully audibly by Mr. Heath.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can hear you fine.
Great. Sorry about that. Thanks.
No worries.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Antoine Heath with the subdivision section. Item 6 is a preliminary plan of subdivision for 4-22070 Kenwood Village, which proposes 124 lots and 18 parcels for the development of 124 single-family detached dwellings. This application includes a Type 1 tree conservation plan, a variance from Section 25-122B1G, and a variation from Section 24-121A4. All information regarding this preliminary plan of subdivision has been stated in the staff report, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. This application is supported by and subject to Certificate of Adequacy ADQ-2022-094, which was approved with conditions on December 22nd, 2023. The applicant proposed a revision to Condition 6 and proposed Conditions 14 and 15. These revisions can be found in the additional backup as Applicant's Exhibit 1, and staff is in full agreement with these revisions. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heath. Questions for staff, commissioners? No questions. I'll turn to the applicant, Mr. Haller. Floor is yours.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And as everyone else, I wish you all a happy new year to both the board and to the staff. We're looking forward to 2024 being a wonderful year. I would also like to thank Mr. Tedesco for the brevity of his presentation. I certainly appreciate it and hope to return the favor to him at some point in the future. I'm pleased today to be representing the applicant in this request for a preliminary plan of subdivision, BHC Inc. BHC Inc. is an affiliated entity with Mid-Atlantic Builders, who many of you are familiar with. Mid-Atlantic is one of the premier builders in Prince George's County. With me today is Mr. Joe Stroyevsky with Mid-Atlantic Builders, and we also have Mr. Mike Lenhart from our development team who's on the line as well. The board may remember this property. We were before you in July for the approval of the revision to the comprehensive design plan. And this preliminary plan of subdivision is consistent with the CDP that was approved previously. When we presented this to you in July, we gave you a fairly detailed overview of the project history and the proposed changes that are being implemented. And I'm happy to go back through that. But we'll continue to work with them throughout this process. In fact, they've already given us some valuable feedback about our proposed architecture that will be coming to you in a future SDP application. We appreciate their feedback on this project as we move forward.
This conference will now be recorded.
To assist us in addressing all of the issues. And I don't know what happened to the screen either. We're all looking. There it is.
You all hear me?
We can. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yes, now we can.
Yeah, I thought you all froze, and then I thought, wait a minute, I may be the comment I wanted to hear. So I missed the last chunk of that, Mr. Haller. Commissioners, anything I missed that I need to pay attention to, or can we move on?
Just happy holidays, he said, I believe.
We can move on.
All right. That'll work, Mr. Haller.
We can move on.
All right. Sorry about that. I don't know what's up with the technology. So, Mr. Haller, you're done. Is there anyone from your team who needs to speak?
No, Mr. Chairman. Just answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Mr. Stroyevsky, as you saw with the other two, if you want to say a quick hello. I don't need to swear you in unless there's something else you want to say.
Hello, Chairman. I just want to say Happy New Year and hello to everybody. And again, thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you. There's no one else in the applicant's team, so this is a public hearing. We've already sworn in the one person who signed up, which is Chuck Renninger. Ms. Renninger, if you can introduce yourself for the record, I'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak. We'll put a clock up there just to help manage the time, but you know the drill, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. First time, a long time I've appeared before you, but still very active in the community, as you're well aware. And just for the record, I live at 1220 Pickering Circle in Largo, Maryland, which is north and east of the site and within walking distance of this site. I participated in the early versions of the preliminary plan and the detailed site plan, and continue to participate on behalf of the Civic Association. We have met with the applicant, as he has indicated, on a number of occasions concerning the site. There were issues that were raised about traffic and pedestrian access to the site, particularly along White House Road, which is heavily traveled for vehicles going to and from the landfill. Assuming the conditions proposed in the certificate of adequacy are included in any resolution or approval, we have no objection to the process moving forward with those conditions. And with that, I'll conclude my testimony unless someone has questions.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Good to see you again. And I had no doubt in my mind that you were still active and involved, and it's good to see you here. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Renninger? If not, there's no one else who signed up to speak in the public hearing. I will close the public hearing. Actually, Mr. Haller, any rebuttal or close?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would only note that when I first contacted Mr. Renninger about this project about 2 years ago, I told him that the original approvals had been done back in 1992, and he reminded me he was a participant in those approvals back then. So he clearly knew more about the project at that point than I did. So I want to give him a shout out for being involved for over 30 years in the area. It's wonderful to work with.
Thanks, Tom. I need a replacement.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Haller, for that. So with that, I will close the hearing, and if there's no deliberation, commissioners, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-22070 TCP 1-017-04-04 variation from section 24-121A4 and variance to section 25-122B1G, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report and is further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. Discussion? No discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye, Mr. Chair.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thanks again, Mr. Renninger. Thank you, Mr. Haller and team. Thank you, Mr. Heath. And I'm glad we worked out the technology.
Thank you very much.
We will now move on to item 8 on our agenda. This is DSP 21037 Glenwood Hills. We have Mr. Gingles, who is representing the applicant, and we have Ms. Garland, who will be giving the staff presentation. This is also an evidentiary hearing, but I don't see anyone who signed up to speak. And if anyone from the applicant's team will speak, we'll swear them in at that time. And turn it over to Ms. Garland, who, let me say, note of congratulations to you for your new role.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Hunt, anything you want to say about that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thanks for the for a quick moment. For the record, James Hunt, Development Review Division, we just wanted to quickly recognize Ms. Garland. She has recently been promoted to the acting planning supervisor position of urban design. So we're really excited. As you all know, last month was Andrea Dorlister's last day with the department. So Ms. Garland has agreed to take on the role in the interim manner. So we're really excited to have her on board. We since she's been here, as you all know, she's done a great job when it comes to innovative and design that's come out as well of urban design. So we're really excited to the future and what's going to take place. So I just want to take a quick moment to recognize her for all her hard work. So she that short period of time, she's just phenomenal. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Garland. And the floor is yours on this case.
Great. Thank you so much for such a great compliment, and I really appreciate it and honored to take the role. So good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, my name is Ho-Jung Garland with the Urban Design section. The item number 8 is the detailed site plan, DSP 21037, Glenwood Hills, with the request on approval for the residential and retail in MXT /R55/MIO zones. Additional detail will be explained during the subsequent 3D video review. So please pull up the 3D video. Thank you. Before we actually get started, the video, I'd like to orient the planning board into the site. So this subject site is about a mile away from the District of Columbia borderline. And it's located along the Central Avenue corridor. So on the foreground street you see is the Central Avenue. And then perpendicular gray line is the proposed Karen Boulevard you see that is pointed on the screen as of right now. Having said that, this is gonna start playing as a counterclockwise from zoom out to slowly zooming in to show more detail. So without further ado, please play the video. Okay, so along the Central Avenue corridor, there are 2 buildings. Let me slow down a little bit.
I'm not seeing the animation on it.
I think it's just
Here we go.
about,
Now I got it.
okay, good. All right, thank you. So on the foreground, you might notice that there are 2 high-rise buildings. So within those 2 buildings, there's 524 multifamily units and the 49,000 square feet of retail. And then slowly coming up, you will see in the further away with the green dash line, that's actually indicating the Central Avenue Corridor Trail. This is like regional trail that is connect 4 different metro stations, starting from Capitol Heights Metro Station to the Lago Metro Station. And this is the actually critical infrastructure for this DSP, that it's connecting the residents from the site to the metro station as Addison Road City Pleasant Metro Station, within the 5 minutes away of walking distance toward the west. And you see there are 126 units of townhouses also proposed. On the brown color indicated, that is the future industrial area. At this point, this is infrastructure only proposal. So there's grading only and temporary aspect of conceptual aspect this thing is included. And staff would like to note that this 3D model has been created based on the visual material provided by the applicant, mainly to illustrate the massing aspect and also the site context. However, some of the detail might differ from the actual implementation, such as landscape. So we'd like to note on that. And while you're looking at the multifamily buildings, you can see the garage is very well concealed within the residential development. And also slowly coming up toward the back of the building, you might start noticing some of the loading area and trash dumpster area. Those are very well concealed and located at the back of the this high-rise building, which is away and tucked away from the primary pedestrian circulations. And slowly coming up is the central plaza area, which is the essential community gathering space. So that actually works very well as the MXT's community gathering space. And then while it's turning off slowly, you start noticing the industrial area again. And staff would like to bring special attention to some of the conditions that staff have provided to the planning board. During the applicable preliminary plan of the subdivision included a condition to the consolidate driveways onto Karen Boulevard and provide a cross-access for the future industrial parcels. Therefore, staff recommended not including any permanent access or infrastructure for the future industrial area, which should be further evaluated when the development for the area is proposed. So that concludes the staff presentation, and staff would like to recommend approval with the conditions for this detailed site plan as a DSP-21037, including TCP 2-038-2023, subject to the recommended conditions of approval with a technical staff report. This concludes the staff presentation, and also we'd like to share a special thank you to the Chris Rotundo, who created this wonderful 3D slide from the GIS section. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garland. Commissioners, questions for staff?
Yeah, I have two. For the multi-family buildings, is the parking underneath?
No, it is. It's in the industry. It's expressed as a donut, basically. So the parking itself is at the center core. You can start noticing a little bit on the further back and start coming up. It's above the ground and it's wrapped around with the residential unit.
Okay, and so that's the parking for the multifamily. I didn't see any provision for EV charging in the multifamily. Is any of that provided, or should I just ask the applicant?
I believe the EV charging station is not provided, but staff can, the applicant can confirm.
Okay, and the other thing is I don't see any provision. I see a rec area, but I don't see any provision for either a dog park or dog waste stations for the buildings, for the multifamily and for the townhouse.
That's correct. I believe there were, in the past, there was some discussion about the dog park area on the entry monument design area right behind it. But some reason during the DSP proposal that has been not proposed. So that is something that I do hope that the applicant can provide some of the history if possible.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Giraldo. Other questions? I have one question around bike ped, the access to the trail and what amenities are in the building that will help this development be a bit more trail oriented, which is nice to see this right along the Central Avenue Connector Trail. So I think it's helpful for this very significant project to model what even slightly trail oriented development would look like. So Ms. Garland, do you have anything that you can bring to us about the bike facilities related to this? And are we looking at any kind of shared mobility and other things like that? Is there you know, the scooters, or what are we doing to take advantage of the trail there?
Sure. First of all, the Central Avenue Corridor Trail is actually very significant, as I stated. It's connecting 4 metro stations, and it's connecting to the metro station toward the west as Addison Road is Seat Pleasant Metro Station within the 5 minutes walking distance to the residents. So that'll be a significant benefit. And then this project is actually providing some framework for making that trail feasible under the Karen Boulevard, that which is the spine road that you see as a gray line. Under that, there's a underpass provided that being able to make this trail connection feasible. So that's one of the important aspects. And then the other thing is bike storage room itself is provided within the multifamily building. And then there's also bike lock provided around the multifamily area. And then also during the CSP discussion, there was a condition to provide a car sharing parking space adjacent to this mixed use area. So that is also laid out as a condition in the staff report. I think that might be sufficient to describe some of multimodal aspect, but that in itself is really the epiphany of this project that, while this is located within the MXT area, multimodal aspect is significantly important. And those were actually echoed during the current ongoing blue/silver line sector plan in the Central Avenue corridor. So staff would like to note that this project itself is actually benefiting some of those multimodal aspects.
Great. It's great to hear. Thank you. No other questions for staff, commissioners. I will turn to the applicant. Mr. Gingles, good to see you. Floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good that we're all above dirt here as we enter 24 and had a couple of significant losses recently with Mr. Warren Coop and Mr. Peters, and I know most of you all know them, and just great losses for folks who did a lot for the county, and so appreciate you noting that. By way of background, this is the third of the 4 entitlements that we are required to secure for the Glenwood Hills project. I think I've noted previously that our endeavor commenced in 2020 when we started doing some outreach to the community, and they were very helpful through a series of meetings, including some suggestions and input to develop this concept. And essentially, the concept remains largely unchanged and is still supported by the community in that way. This particular entitlement, as Ms. Garland noted, focuses on the design and the architecture for the mixed-use area, which is located along the 214 corridor, as well as the overall site development for the infrastructure. And we have a large piece of infrastructure, which is Kern Boulevard. That's about a 3,300 foot length road, and we've paid a lot of particular attention to that, including how we want to encourage the community north, south, east, and west to get up to the mixed use area. I don't really have much more to add after that presentation by Ms. Garland, but do want to express our appreciation, particularly for her leading many discussions on issues and suggestions. The time she took coming back into this to get immersed in the history of the property. She set up a meeting just to sort of talk with us about the history and understand things as we were making decisions on that, and address a lot of the concerns. As we mentioned in the prior hearings, there have been multiple efforts to develop this property dating back to the 1980s, and actually, unfortunately, dating myself. I've been involved with the development since the 1980s. One reason I'm still involved is because I don't want to leave this undone as I'm on my way out. But we strongly believe the current proposal and the strength of the applicant, in particular the Berman family, who've enjoyed a number of successes in the county, including Carrollton Station, redevelopment of the Bowie Mall, Montpelier Hills, just to name a few, makes there a strong likelihood of success with this endeavor. Like everything these days, the market and the ability to move timely is paramount to success. You guys probably noticed this morning the story in the Washington Post that noted that there is sort of a decrease, or at least economic development is not matching what people thought was going to be a potential for Maryland. And we've got a lot of strong points in Maryland, but things are just not moving as quickly as they should. And in a lot of cases, the timing and the flexibility always remain very important factors for success. We have had some concerns with how some of the entitlements are done, as well as some of the conditions. Nevertheless, we want to acknowledge that staff has been very patient and willing to work with us on a lot of these issues. And I particularly want to thank Mr. James Hunt, who's reached out to us directly to assure us that staff recognizes the challenges and the willingness, the commitment to continue to work with us on these. And that brings a lot of comfort level as we move forward on a project of this size. I think all, including your staff, recognize that, and the community recognize that this could be a great catalyst for economic growth along the 214 corridor all the way down to the district line. And so we appreciate all the work that they're doing. I want to note that I have our consultants on the line from GLW, as well as the applicant being here with us. We don't have anything else in addition to note at this time, but want to make sure that the questions that you and the commissioner raised had satisfactory answers, or otherwise we'll try and answer those as well. And with that, we would just ask or express our concurrence actually with the findings and the conditions that have been proposed by staff, and ask for your favorable consideration on the DSP as well as the TCP.
Thank you, Ms. Gingles. Appreciate it. I do think it'll be helpful to get some direct answers to the questions that we have. Maybe Commissioner Giraldo, turn to you, and you can make sure that you have the answers you need.
Okay. So right there at, you can see where Kern Boulevard is coming into the site. And just to the west of the entrance of Kern Boulevard, up at the top near Central Avenue. No, right at Kern Boulevard. If you put the cursor where Kern Boulevard is.
At the beginning of Karen?
Yes, at Central Avenue in there. That area just west of the entrance there is the area that's proposed for an activity. One, a big entrance sign, but also the dog park. And then within the townhouse areas, there will be areas for walking dogs, so that those people with pets, no one walks the cats anymore. So those people with the dogs will be able to get out and do things. In addition, I would note that we will have EV charges within the multifamily garage area. Becoming pretty standard with a lot of multifamily buildings these days. And if there was a third question, I didn't note it appropriately.
No, well, the only other thing, so let me be clear. So we've got the EV charges. I just don't see that in the SDP.
Typically an amenity I'm sorry. I guess it's not in as a condition, but it's typically an amenity that's done with multifamily buildings that have garages these days. And it's just a recognition of people having those kinds of vehicles.
Okay. Now, again, so there is a dog park?
Yes. If you, again, in the area that I just showed, that area.
No, I saw the area, Mr. Gingles. I just want to confirm. So, but it's not it's not part of the SDP. I guess that's my issue.
Let's get the language. Yeah, Commissioner Giraldo, let's just get the language in.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I missed.
No, what I'm saying is let's just make sure, if there's no objection, Mr. Gingles, you can work with staff and make sure that there's a specific reference to the dog park and the number of EV charging stations at a minimum, just so that we are, that is something that's formalized with what we're approving. It doesn't sound like there's any objection. We just want to make sure it's formalized.
We can add we can add the details relative to the dog park as a part of the plan certification.
Okay, and the other question I had is, I'm glad that there's a dog park. Will there also be dog waste stations?
They typically are part of, again, part of this is I just become used to seeing these. So like within my area where I live, where I am, and also in Tampa, those kinds of parks always have a station or an area to get rid of the waste as a part of the park.
Okay, so then can you work with the staff to make sure that that's there too?
Yes, sir. We'll make it part of those details as a part of the certification.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ginges. I appreciate it. I think the project is great. It's a great location, and I sure hope it spurs the economic development along that 214 East Capitol corridor. Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, other questions for the applicant? No, I do have one or two quick ones, and this gets back to shared mobility. Maybe Mr. Gingles or somebody on your team might have the answers. I'm just trying to get a sense of what discussions you've had around things like Capitol Bike Share Station or some of the other scooter stations. I mean, this is, again, the trail orientation for this and the access to the metro seems so critical. I can't imagine you didn't have the conversations, but if you could, where a member of your team could give me a sense of what the potential is and what's formalized or what's aspirational in terms of the shared mobility, the micro mobility.
So we expect that, for instance, within the multifamily, we're going to have some bike rooms to encourage that use. The multimodal is largely, as you know, there was a countywide plan to sort of look at different areas about how to attract these type of companies to the county. I would tell you that we've not had any direct conversations because it's not an area that's high on their list, and essentially because there's no development there yet. I think as development gets approved, you see these companies begin to look away from the actual, say, metro station or transit facility and look at where there seems to be density. So we can expect that as these companies begin to look at the county and the areas where density is starting to grow, that they will start to look at these areas. And I can say that we see spaces where all of that can be accommodated, but we haven't had any direct conversations, largely because we don't think there's been a focus on the area yet.
All right, that's helpful. I appreciate it. Okay, commissioners, other questions for the applicant? We have no one who's signed up to speak on this matter, so I'll close the public hearing. And if there is no deliberation, commissioners, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DSP-21037 and TCP2-038-2023, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report, and would ask staff to work with the applicant to ensure that EV chargers, dog park, to include waste stations, is somehow appropriately incorporated with the plan of certification.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Washington. I'm going to give the second to Commissioner Giraldo. Discussion? No discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. I want to thank Ms. Garland again for all of your fine work on this, and congratulations again. And thank you, Mr. Gingles, and the rest of your team. Hopefully we will be seeing you again sometime soon, even though I know you're moving on to the other side of this professional world. But I want to thank you for all your service to the county for all these years, Mr. Gingles.
I just want you to know that me being in the dark is not implying anything in particular.
I was going to ask that question later.
Yeah, right. Thank you for the clarification.
All right.
Okay. We will move on to item 9, our final item on our agenda. This is an extension request for preliminary plan 4-04035 South Lake, formerly Carrington. Mr. Horn will be representing the applicant. Ms. Gupta will be giving the staff presentation, brief as it is. Ms. Gupta, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to all. And doing a quick sound check.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Thank you, sir. Good morning again, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, I'm Mridula Gupta with the subdivision section. Item number 9 on the agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-04035 titled South Lake. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the Planning Board on October 21st, 2004, and it is valid through December 31st, 2023. 4-04035 was approved for 12,094 dwelling units and 675,000 square feet of commercial development. By letter dated December 14th, 2023, the applicant requested a 3-year extension of the plan's approval. This is the applicant's second extension request. If this request is approved, the preliminary plan of subdivision will be valid through December 31st, 2026. Section 24-119D of the prior subdivision regulations authorizes the planning board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of a preliminary plan subdivision when certain criteria are met. These criteria and their findings are listed in the staff memorandum. Based on staff's findings, staff recommends that the planning board grant a 3-year extension for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-04035 pursuant to sections 24-119D6B, Romanet 1 and Romanet 2 of the prior subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Commissioners, questions for staff? No questions. Mr. Horn, Ms. Gupta said you'd need about a half hour for this, Mr. Horn. Is that right?
One of the advantages of pulling up the rear, I think, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. For the record, Arthur Horn with the law offices of Shipley and Horn, and Happy New Year to you all. Very pleased to be here to talk about South Lake. Just to basically say that we agree with staff recommendation. I did want to point out that even this morning, you noted that there were several South Lake plats that you approved. The property is really moving forward. The commercial is coming up. The residential moving. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to go up and down 301 recently, but you can see the development is really moving along. And hopefully within the next 3 years, it'll be completely finished. So things are moving along. Beautiful project. There's a school that's been approved on there as well as the commercial. So things are really, really looking up. A very tremendous development here in Prince George's County. I'm very proud to be a part of it. I will just join in with my colleagues and thanking staff, Ms. Gupta, Ms. Connor for meeting during this time. I actually had a chance to go to your new building, Mr. Chairman, and over the holidays. A tremendous building. You certainly get your exercise in up there. But
Yes.
what we realized is, and Ms. Gupta was in a meeting, is that though we've been working with each other for a couple of years, this is the first time we actually had seen each other face to face because of what's been going on. You know, you're so used to being on the Zooms and the meetings and everything, and the planning boards are remote, that we had not had the opportunity to meet in person. So I was pleased to finally be able to meet her in person and the rest of the staff and get a chance to enjoy y'all's beautiful offices. So
was she shorter than you thought or taller than you thought?
She said, yeah, I think she didn't realize that, that I only show myself from here up, that it was a lot more to it than, I think I So, but anyway, but thank you all very much for your time and appreciation, and we ask that you support the recommendation of extending the preliminary plan in this particular case.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Horn. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? If not, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 3-year extension for preliminary plan 4-04035.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo. Discussion? No
Just
discussion.
thank you, Mr. Horn, for bringing up the rear so well.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Horn. Thank you, Ms. Gupta.
Thank you all.
That concludes all of our items for today on this first planning board meeting of 2024. Mr. Hunt, any further business to come before us?
There's no business items before the board today. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and without
Happy New Year.
objection, commissioners, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great rest of your day. All take care.
Great day.
Take care.